to my channel. So today I am back to film one of my book videos. So this Christmas in Vlogmas I am doing some of my book content as part of my Vlogmas content. I normally do it in the new year, but I'm actually including it in Vlogmas this year because I just want to sit and talk about books, and it's been like a year since I've sat down and spoke to you about it. So today I'm back with my Kindle, and today is going to be like a Kindle Unlimited book recommendation video slash what I've got like on my TBR for my Kindle. So I got Kindle Unlimited for the first time, I think it was July. Was it end of July? So they were doing an offer where, also I'm really sorry about the lighting, I'm either really pink or I'm really washed out, so we're going with washed out. I might be pink in another video. But Kindle Unlimited were doing a deal, and I believe it was for Prime Day, where they offered 3 months for free, and I was like, you know what, it's not going to cost me anything, let's give it a go. And I had some books that I wanted to try, so that's why I got it. Since I've had Kindle Unlimited, which was in July, I've read 12 books, which I think is really good. Obviously it's been past my 3-month free trial. However, when I went to go and cancel it, they offered me an additional 3 months for £7.99, which I believe is how much it is monthly. So I was like, you know what, an extra 3 months for £7.99 is a bargain. So the whole reason why I actually got Kindle Unlimited is because I wanted to try Mariana Zapata. You know who I mean if you watch sort of like booktubers. And I wanted to try and read From Lukov with Love. And I read maybe 6 to 10%, I think, and I DNF'd it. I just didn't like it. It was very, very slow, and it just wasn't for me. I didn't like the main character. Just wasn't a bit of me. So I then went on to read A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime by Monica Murphy. So this was raved about, and the American booktubers I watch is mainly Destiny Sidwell and Sarah Caroli, I think is her name. So they're like a younger reader than what I am. I'm 29, I think they're early 20s. But this was going around, and I was like, I like that cover. It was on Kindle Unlimited, let's give it a go. And it basically follows a story of a girl that's, I think it's like a private school, and she is very like saintly, never been touched sort of thing. And then it's basically the romance about this, I think he's like the bad guy of the school, and then her and how they like develop their relationship. I rated it a 4-star. It was a very easy read, it was a very quick read. Bear in mind it was like a 600-page book. However, it's very, oh, what's the word? I quite like reading a smutty book, like a romantic smutty book I enjoy. And this is also sort of like a school setting, which I enjoy as well. It's not the best written, and it might not be for everybody, but I really enjoyed it. So that was the first one that I liked. So if you haven't read that and it sounds like something you would like, definitely give that one a go. The next one that I want to mention is one of my favourite books of the year, if not of all time, which is a very bold statement. And I went into this blind. So we went away in our caravan, because since I've been filming, or not filming videos, we have our own little caravan and we go on little holidays. And it was so hot. It was one of the hottest days of the year. It was so hot I couldn't even be outside. So I sat in the caravan, literally with my fan here and my Kindle here, and I was just reading. I read this book in a day, and it's my second Colleen Hoover book that I had ever read. And it's one that I never see being spoke about, which I think is a shame, because I loved it. And it was the type of book that when I was reading it, I was messaging people, and my friends that hadn't read it, I was like, you need to read this book. And that is Too Late by Colleen Hoover. I can't explain to you how much I loved this book. And if you're watching this and you haven't read it and you're intrigued, go into it blind. I'm going to give a really brief summary. but I went into it blind, and not knowing anything made it that much more epic. Search up trigger warnings for this. I'm not normally the type of person that says about searching up trigger warnings. However, I think you need to with this, because I've got multiple people to read it since I've read it. And one of my friends loved it. The other one was like, I can see where you're coming from, but the tropes were a bit too heavy for me. So search up trigger warnings. You might get slightly spoiled with the storyline. Not spoiled, but you'd understand the progression of the book. But this basically follows your main character called Sloane, and she is in college and she's trying to save up money. And she is in a relationship with, I've stupidly in my head pronounce it Asa, but I think it's Asa, and he is well known for being a bad reputation. He's involved with drugs and he's a very manipulative character. And then we have a third character come into play, and what was his name? Carter, that's it. Is it bad of me that I say this is one of my favourite books and I can't fucking remember the names? So Carter comes into play, and I'm not going to say anything. It's the story of those three. We get different POVs, we get timeline jumps, and I can't explain to you how epic this book is. This book is not spoken about. This book is very much Marmite. Some people love it, like myself. Some people absolutely hate it. They say this is their worst book. I thought it was incredible. I've never read anything like it before. I didn't find it sad. Not that I ever really find Colleen books sad. I feel like that's like a tagline that comes with her books, and I don't agree with that. It was just like my heart was in my throat, and I was literally sat there reading sometimes being like, I don't think I can continue with this book. Like, it was, I got the feels of this how I had with After when I read that years ago. They're not the same at all, but the emotions I felt in this book, not necessarily like sad emotive, but just, it was just a lot. So this one is amazing. The next book I want to speak to you about is my first proper read, and that is Mariana Zapata, sorry about the pronunciation, of Dear Aaron. I really liked this book. I also didn't mention that I gave, obviously Too Late 5 stars, and this Dear Aaron is also 5 stars. So Dear Aaron is set up, I think 60% of the book is written in email formats, which I really like. I find that format of book really easy to read. I read it really quickly, and again, this was a big book and I read it in less than a week, which for me is quite good now. I'm not as fast as I used to be with 2 children and everything else. But Dear Aaron follows our main character, Poppy. Is it Poppy? I'm so bad. Ruby, not Poppy. Definitely not, it's Ruby. We follow Ruby, and she writes to men in the war as like a companion. It's like a, is it a scheme? I'm not really too sure, but she writes to people in the war just to like check up on them and have someone for them to talk to when they are able to log on the computer, whether it be just talking about their general life back home, and just give them something to look forward to. And Ruby develops this connection with Aaron, and we see them strike up a friendship which then turns into something more deep-rooted, and we see them go from doing emails to then instant messaging, and then they actually meet in real life, and it was so good. I loved it. People say that this one's slow, but I really enjoyed it. I loved the progression. I loved seeing the friendship. I loved hearing about their stories and just their day-to-day life. It did get a little bit repetitive, but I really enjoyed it, and I gave this one a 5 stars. I don't see people talking about this book enough, which is why I wanted to mention it, and it's one of my favourite books of the year. I really enjoyed it, which I'm sure you've all read, is Heartbones. Again, this is one that I never really see being spoke about online, and it deserves it. It was such a good book. So again, I went into this blind, and it was just such a lovely story. There's twists and turns in it, and we basically follow our main character, who is called, she's got a weird name, Beyah, B-E-Y-A-H. and we meet Bea when she's going through something really difficult in her life, and then we see her relocate and start again. I'm trying not to give any spoilers, and it's basically set over the summer. It was a really lovely summery read, and I read it in the summer, and we see her trying to start afresh because she had such a rocky start to her life, and so we see her try and create friendships and relationships that she's never really had before because she's had such a unstable upbringing. And then we see her develop this relationship with the main character, love interest called Samson, and it's just such a lovely, wholesome story. It felt like a full circle moment. I really, really liked this. I buddy read this with my friend, and just buddy reading it and being able, we voice noted each other, and I was like, oh my god, blah, 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 and like really talking about our thoughts. This is a special one, and I really liked it. And what did I rate this? I gave it a 5-star. It was just so good. Samson is such a lovely character, and in this book I actually highlighted sections, which I never do. I don't think I've ever done it, but I highlighted some sections in this because I was like, that either made me smile or I found it funny, and I just, the connection, and like just when they like watch the sunsets and the sunrises together and stuff, it was just, oh, it was so good. Very full circle, very realistic, I would say, this one, and I loved it. So that is another Kindle Unlimited recommendation. Like I said, I think there's 5 or 6 Colin Hoovers on there, so even if you want to read some Colin Hoovers, you're probably best off just getting the month free. I don't know what it is currently, but when they've got a deal, you can cancel it at any time, even if you've just got the free deal, so it's so worth it. What's next on my list? Oh, this is one that I read not too long ago, and this is currently blowing up on BookTube. I don't do TikTok. I haven't got time for that. So this is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and it's the UCMH series. This is book 1. So I really, really enjoyed this. I only gave it a 3-star. My reasoning for that is it was a little bit long, but it wasn't. I think it's only like 400 odd pages, 435 pages, so it's not that long, but it read long. It was a little bit repetitive and a little bit, it rehashed a lot of the same things that we've been talking about throughout the entire book. But having said that, on reflection, I would probably bump it to a 3.5. I wouldn't give it a 4. It's a definite 3, but it's more of a 3.5 because on reflection, I did really, really like this. So, fun fact, this book is actually written by a British author. I've got a feeling this was her debut novel, but the author is British, and you would not know reading this that this was written by someone that lives in the UK, because it's done so well. The terminology, the language, just everything about like what they go through feels American. So the fact it's written by a British person, I think, hats off to her. This is going to be a series, and it's basically like a found family series that's yet to come, where all of the characters in this series will eventually get their own book and their love interest and development and all of that, but they're all still together. But this follows Anastasia and, what's his name? Nathan. That's it. I'm so bad with names. And basically, he is a hockey player and she is a figure skater. And there are 2 ice rinks on the college campus. One of the ice rinks goes down, so they have to share an ice rink, share their sort of schedules and their timetables, and we see them strike up this relationship, friendship thing, and then work together. Something happens to her skate partner, and then Nate steps in and just helps her continue to train because she's training for competitions to eventually get into the Olympics. So we see him sort of like step up and help her train whilst her partner's out. And obviously the relationship and the story just goes from there. I really enjoyed this. The one thing that I feel like everyone speaks about, which I'm going to touch on as well, because you might not watch the American booktubers that I watch, is the communication trope in this. They have probably the most healthy, communicative relationship that I've ever read. It's not toxic at all. It's very good. Very good. If there's ever anything that's going on, they communicate, and I really like that. I haven't really read that in a college setting book before, and I thought they were quite mature for their age, which is why I really liked it, and I would continue with the series if more come out. Finally, my most recent Kindle Unlimited book that I've read. I am currently reading one, but I can't say if I recommend it yet. This one is Indigo Bridge by Devney Perry. I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series. This was a 3-star read for me, but if you're after, even though this book is set in the summer, I got really like autumnal vibes from it because it's set in a small town. So you basically have the main character. Can I remember the name? No. Winslow, that was it. That's it. So it's Winslow comes to this town and she is involved in the police. I think she takes over like the police department or something, and it's set in a small town. And then we have Griffin Eden, which is, so this is like the Edens series, so you've got lots of these Eden brothers and sisters that live in this town and they own certain things. He is a part of a ranch, is that right? Yes. And there has been a couple of deaths that happen at the specific point. Indigo Ridge, I think is what it is. It's on the ridge. There's been some deaths that have happened around this area, and it's been happening over like a 10-year time span, and they just put it down to like girls committing suicide. And then Winslow comes in, a death happens, and she's like, this isn't right, and she investigates it. So it's a small town romance with a bit of mystery involved in it, and that's what I really liked about it. It wasn't just your typical romance and small town vibes. There was more depth to it, and I liked that twist on the story, which is why I really liked it. I thought it was a very good read. It was an easy read. I read it relatively quickly. Like I said, I gave it a 3-star. It wasn't my favourite. I wouldn't not recommend it, but it's also not one that would come to me straight away. And there's like 4 or 5 books out. I have got them downloaded. I don't know if I'm going to reach for it straight away, but I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I just got autumnal vibes, even though it's set in the summer because they go to like July the 4th together. I think because it's small town, it's like cozy. It's a definite cozy vibe book, and I really liked that. So they are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are the 6 books out of the 12 that I've read that I recommend. Like I said, I'm currently reading one. I'm currently reading Hands Down by Mariana. Oh, my Kindle case is cracked. By Mariana's Pattern, and speak to you about ones that I would like to read. So I've got another 3 months. So when is that ending? I think that's ending in January. I don't think I'll be able to read all of these. I'm probably averaging about 3 or 4 books a month at the moment, that's fine. I'm happy with that. That's actually quite a lot for me. So one thing that I will say as well about Kindle Unlimited is that they change all the time. So when I first downloaded or got the free trial, the Ana Huang Twisted series was on here, and then it just disappeared. It's now currently back on there, so I would like to read that. And I'll tell you what, I'm just going to put pictures up here because it'll be a lot easier. So obviously, like I've just said, I'd like to read the Twisted series. It consists of Twisted Love, Twisted Hate, Twisted Lies, Twisted Games. Is that it? Blue, yellow, red, green. You'll know them. I'll put a picture here. I've got the first one downloaded. I actually also own a physical copy, but I don't read physical books anymore. I literally just read ebooks. So bad. But yes, I really want to give that book series a try. The book series that I wanted to try, which is called Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark, I think. And again, it's a massive series, there's loads of spin-offs, but I just want to try the first one because I see all these booktubers talk about it. I can't say I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm just intrigued to see whether it's something that I would like to give a go. So that one's on my list. I want to read 2 more Mariana Zapatas, and that is Colty and the Wall of Winnipeg and Me. Those ones are like the most hyped. One's about a football player and one is about an American football player, I think. The only reason why I haven't picked those up yet is because they are thick books. They're like 600 odd pages each, and that's fine when it's on an e-reader, but it's just having that time when there's so many other books I want to read. But I do want to give those ones a go. And then there is a fantasy series that I want to try because I saw Sarah speak about it on her video, and it is called the Entangled with the Fae. I've got a little bit of paper here with them all written down. Entangled with the Fae. And I think it's a 4-book series. The first one is a fantasy retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I think there is is it Snow White, Little Mermaid and another one? I can't remember, but she really likes them in her book videos, so I want to go and give the first one a go. Speaking of Sarah, she also recommended Darling Venom, which I believe is about, is it about a boy and a girl, and the girl falls in love with the best friend's brother who died? Sounds quite morbid, doesn't it? Okay, so Darling Venom says, my first love ended in tragedy, my second began with his brother. That was right. I wasn't supposed to be on that roof on Valentine's Day. Neither was Kellen Machete, the school's designated freak. We met on the verge of ending our lives. Somehow the tattered strings on our tragedies tangled and tightened into an unlikely bond. We decided not to take the plunge and agreed to check on each other every Valentine's Day until school ended. Same time, one roof. 2 restless souls. We kept our promises for 3 years. There's more, but I'm not going to read any more because it feels like it's a little bit of a spoiler. But yes, that is one that I want to read as well. The books that I'm interested in reading and giving a go. So if you've read any of those, leave a comment down below and let me know if you've read them, if you recommend them, if it's worth my time. And then also, whilst I'm here talking about Kindle Unlimited books, I've just brought out my Goodreads. I just want to also quickly speak to you about some books that I have read that might be recommended to me, and I completely disagree with the recommendation. So, what else have I read? I've read Dirty Air Series 1, Throttles by Lauren Asher. That is the the Formula 1 romance books. The covers don't normally look like this. This is just the Kindle one. Really liked the format, gave it 2 stars. Didn't like the romance at all. Didn't like that she was a YouTuber. But I loved the Formula 1 aspect. If you want a Formula 1 romance, try Chasing Daisy by Paige Toon. It's a standalone, but it was really good. But the knowledge on Formula 1 in this book was great, but I just didn't feel for the romance. So that's that one. I've read that one. This one was really hyped about. Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. Didn't like it. Not a fan. Gave it 2 stars. Hated it actually in the end. This book I saw everywhere. Don't get it. I can't explain to you how much I hated this book. So it's an age gap romance, and she was so mature. So mature. Hated the main character. Didn't like the love interest. And the ending, if you've read it, you'll know why. Just why. Didn't need to happen. Completely left field. Didn't like it. And not because I have that, in the sense that, oh, I don't want to give any spoilers. What can I say? If you've read it, you'll know. I couldn't imagine going through the situation at the end of the book, and it didn't need to happen. I thought it was completely irrelevant. Don't understand why the author did it. I'm never going to pick up the second book. I hated this book. I gave it a 1 star. I thought it was awful. And then I started to read Flock because everyone talks about this. What the fuck is this book? Literally don't understand it. I read this book, didn't get it. Kept reading, didn't understand it. Very, very confusing. The relationships, very, very weird. And then, first book went the certain way, and I know I'm being very vague with this because I don't want to spoil anyone that hasn't read it, but the first book follows a narrative, and then this book just takes that narrative and shits on it and just completely changes everything. And you're like, what was the point of this first book when this has completely changed everything? Very, very weird. I still don't actually know what I've read. Is this a mafia romance? I don't think so, but it fucking felt like it, and I'm still very, very confused by that book. So they are the other ones that I've read. So if you've got any other recommendations for me, leave me a comment below and then we can chat in the comments about it. Do I recommend Kindle Unlimited? If you can afford $7.99 a month, which I think is what it is, I hope it hasn't gone up, then yes, I would say it's worth it. If you can read at least 3 books a month on Kindle Unlimited, I highly recommend it. You do have to dig for some of the books, but then again, if you watch booktubers, you can sort of figure out the good and the bad. And I think you'll then find your flow of what you like to read on there, because they are sort of trashy books on here, but that's what I like to read. So yes, it is worth it. But if it was to pick Kindle Unlimited or Netflix, there's no comparison. I'm gonna pick Netflix. It's a luxury. I have enjoyed it. If I get another offer when I go to cancel and it's like another 3 months for $7.99, then obviously I'll do that. It's you can cancel any time, but for me at the moment, it's just not. I'd rather put my money elsewhere. I'd rather save my money than I would pay $7.99 a month. I feel happy with what I've got out of it at the moment, but that's not to say that come the summer I'd download it again, or I'd redo it and try again. So that is my very long Kindle Unlimited chatty video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm really glad that I've done it and I've read some of the books. If you've got any recommendations, please leave them down below. Also, if you're a Harry Potter fan, all the Harry Potters are on there for Kindle Unlimited. So even if you just want to completely like immerse yourself in the Harry Potter world for a month with a free trial, definitely recommend it. I think also The Cruel Prince is on there as well. So like I said, they change all the time. Leave me a comment below, let me know if you've got it, if you recommend it, what your thoughts and feels are on it, and any book recommendations, because I'd really appreciate that. So I'm gonna go. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in my next one. Bye.